Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. You are sitting in the 1 + 1 = 3, how cooperation brings bigger sales to all. So I am Michelle Rule, and I'll be your moderator today. And I'm also the CEO of Optimized Channel. And I created Optimized Channel with the vision of helping emerging tech companies grow their indirect channel program or create a new one. So today in this session, we're going to be discussing how working together can lead to better outcomes and more business for everyone. That sounds pretty good, huh? Yeah. We'll look at the legal, cultural, business, and financial considerations around inter-partner cooperation. I have a hard time saying that. So during the session, we'd actually like you to think about how what we're talking about applies to your business, and how what these gentlemen here tell you and their learnings, and take that home with you. So when you leave the session, our intent is that we've provided you some thought-provoking ideas on how to build stronger ecosystems that'll help you meet your clients' needs and grow your revenue. All right, oh, perfect, it's already up there. All right, our panel today is made up of what I'm calling business transformational superheroes. To my left in the first seat is Michael. Michael is the CEO of Telecom Quotes. Telecom Quotes is an agency, and over the last 20 years, Michael has transformed his business to stay relevant and to continue to serve the needs of his clients. In the middle, we have Darren. He's the CEO of Infinite Consulting. In 10 years, Infinite transformed from a consulting company working on multi-million-dollar one-time contracts to a recurring revenue earning managed services provider, specializing in helping clients digitally transform their business, using Infinite's proprietary and client prescriptive digital transformation journey process. And over on the end is Philip, and Philip is the VP at Tolar Systems. In 2012, Tolar Systems started as a small break-fix organization. Today, they are a fast-growing MSP, and they're the winner of the MSP 501 Newcomer Award. Yes, congrats.
Thanks.
So we're going to have about 40 minutes for the session. The first part of the session, you guys know the format. I'm going to ask the panelists questions, and then we'll save the last 5 to 10 minutes for you to ask questions. All right, let's get started. So as we start our discussion, let's look at how agents, VARs, and MSPs have traditionally supported clients. And it's a little recap for all of you, so you have your value-added reseller, offers third-party software and hardware, right, to an end user for markup. VARs usually provide some combination of procurement, consulting, configuration, and customized services. A VAR generates revenue through a combination of flat rate per license fee and billable hours. And their engagements tend to revolve around like one-time events, and they get paid normally in revenue chunks. Then you have the MSP. And the MSP operates and maintains technology for customers for a period of time in exchange for a monthly recurring fee. An MSP typically offers a range of services, networking, hardware repair, help desk, email management, or anything that has to do with kind of day-to-day administrator type things to keep a business running. The MSP may need to purchase technology from a third-party provider, a cost in which they bundle with their services and they pass on to their end customer. And of course, MSPs tend to provide services in a steady state, right? And then finally, we have the agent. And the agent takes an active role in bringing their end customers to a hardware, software, or services vendor that they represent. The end customers billed by the service and serviced by the vendor, and the agent is paid a commission by the vendor for referring the customer to them. So actually, until recently, MSP VARs and agent swim lanes have been very clear, just like what I described. But these lines have blurred with the onset of the X as a service delivery model. Many applications have migrated from a perpetual license model to SaaS, where software and hardware is actually bundled together and delivered and billed monthly. With infrastructure as a service, complex server farms can be turned up in multiple countries, purchased with a credit card, and actually turned up within minutes or hours without a single physical person touching it. Unified communications as a service brings together enterprise messaging, presence technology, online meetings, team collaboration, telephony, and video conferencing. There's DRaaS as a service, there's backup as a service, there's platform as a service, and on and on and on. So this question is to each of the panelists, and I'm going to start with Michael. How has the onset of X as a service delivery model changed the swim lanes for channel partners? And what obstacles does this trend present?
You have to be very careful in defining your rules of engagement when you work with a partner. Because the number one thing you don't want to do is when a partner brings you into an opportunity, is step on their toes, right? It's pretty basic. You're there to accomplish X. And so when your business becomes convoluted and a little cloudy about, well, they do some of this and we do some of this, you have to clearly have that conversation, and you typically put it in writing, and also to define it with your customer. Hey, I'm here to solve this problem. They're solving this problem, we'll work in the back end to make sure that we work together, but we're here to do this. And that's the best way we've been able to take care of that problem. Because I work with a lot of MSPs, and actually a lot of ours, because we've got a specialty in UC. We actually know what we're talking about. Yeah, people know what a phone is, but the actual implementation of it, making sure that things are working correctly, it's a little more complicated than just putting a phone on a desk.
Great, thank you. Hey, Darren.
Hi. I think you need to think about the destination of where we're headed, right? Everything is turning into utility. Think about power, gas, electricity. That's where we're headed with IT. It's a service. And when you say everything as a service, it truly is becoming that, right? So technology is ubiquitous. But what clients need is someone that really doesn't worry about the parts and pieces. A lot of highlighting of SD-WAN and backup recovery and email and those type of things, those are really just attributes, right? Attributes to what IT as a service actually means. And when you think about that, there are different experts in different swim lanes, right? You have telco experts, you have backup security experts, you have messaging experts, you have voice experts, you have everything experts. And you don't need to be an expert in everything. You just need to have access to the right expertise. And that's where the partnering, becomes so important. Working with somebody that you trust, because at the end of the day, it really just comes down to working with people you work and love and enjoy being with, and ultimately working towards that destination together, where you leverage each other's expertise. I don't want to be an expert in telco. My team doesn't want to be an expert in telco, but we know it's an attribute that our client expects us to also incorporate into our complete IT as a service offering. And that way, we're simplifying our client's world. It's like a watch. You just need to tell time. You don't need to understand and know about all the moving parts that make the time tick and everything just work. That's what the clients expect, want, and need. Gone is the time that we have to start wrenching things, and working on the plumbing of different things. Really things should just now start to work. And what that means is it starts to work for us. So the key thing is, aligning expertise, filling the gaps of your lack of expertise, and then joining together to work together towards that destination of utility, utopia.
That's great. Philip, what are your thoughts?
I really agree with what you're saying, Darren, about really picking what you're going to specialize in, what's your unique offering. Even through this show, you walk into the vendor area and everybody's selling, seems like everything. And I think as an MSP, and even in our journey since 2012, we picked up more services, we did more things, but there also comes to a point where you have to remember what you specialize in. And like you were saying, you have to bring in the expert or bring in that offset to provide a complete package for your customer, but at the same time, don't forget that what is that unique value differentiator for your business. and invest in resources. We've said no to things before, even though we could have really brought everything together. There's some cases where we said no because that's not in line with our unique ability.
And if I could add really quick, think about the client experience. I mean, that's what digital transformation is all about. It's the client experience. How are you making life easier for them? And when they have a security vendor, a backup vendor, an email vendor, a telco vendor knocking on their door all day long, what's their value of their day, right? They're having to deal with suppliers and management. When they have one trusted advisor that brings in the experts, the client wins.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well said, well said. Okay, so the next question is for all the panelists. All right, and we'll actually flip it around and we'll start with Philip. So you just shared some obstacles around X as a delivery model. What opportunities do you see around this model?
Well, the role that we play in all the organizations we support is we're really that outsourced VCIO for them. And we really want them to come to us for everything. I even joke, if it's anything technology related, I want you to call us, and we want to have that conversation with you. And so I think in this model with all of these as a service that we can provide, bundling in things like VoIP and communication suites into our mainline product are really beneficial for the customer. And I think that allows them to see greater value in what we're doing because they're not going to different vendors for everything. Even like in an agency type relationship, we're also moving towards even providing the connectivity for their organization. So really they only get one bill from us and it encompasses everything. We also have a recent example where we had a trucking organization that needed a 24/7 dispatch center. So we not only designed the technology, but we found the space for them to operate in. We managed the renovation and the contractors. We designed the aesthetic element of that and managed the whole project from beginning to end. And I think with them, they saw a lot of value in that because not only do they have the long-term relationship with the technology, but even the physical space they operate in, our company is providing for them.
Wow, that's great. Darren, what are your thoughts?
The opportunity is winning. Who doesn't like to win, right? So from a service provider perspective, really it just comes down to we're going down stack. It's easier, really super easy for us to go up and scoop up the network. I mean, it's a kind of a natural no-brainer, and I think historically service providers wanted to cut them off from that domain and just point fingers. But when you have an effective team managing a client, you're dealing with everything. You're dealing with the network, you almost have no choice. So it's easier for us to go down and scoop up the network, across multiple sites, across the corporate headquarters, and really apply the best strategy to make sure that they're always connected, especially in this cloud-enabled world, right? From a telco agent broker perspective, it's the need to go up the stack. I mean, service providers need to go up the stack as well. I mean, they're losing out on 5x to 20x additional revenue. I mean, really. And from the telco broker agent perspective, when they're working on a telco arrangement or opportunity, they're knife fighting. They are knife fighting. It becomes a price, then who has the best, fanciest SD-WAN proposal along with the network connectivity and so on. But they miss an important attribute, I think, sometimes, which is what are the business applications that, the company depends on in order to execute, in order to operate? What are those unique transactional business processes and workflow scenarios that need to ensure the availability and uptime of the core network infrastructure, right? And it's hard to go up that level, right? Back to the earlier comment about we all kind of are experts in our own domain. This is an opportunity to collaborate and work together and go down stack for me to scoop up the network, but tie it to the business value, those outcomes. They have a system that is critical for logistics, a system that is critical for bioresearch, a system, and that's why they need the network, right? They don't need the network because they need to make sure email flows, right? They need the network because they have critical business processes and workflows in order to operate their business. And we tie that to the business outcomes. And so our ability to work with our partners, the telco broker agents, ups their game, and they're no longer knife fighting. They're no longer knife fighting for that transport. Now they become a strategic kind of enabler to the business.
I have a question here. How many people here sell VoIP? What's a VoIP seat? $20 a seat, right? Ballpark. So I sold a deal last year to a large publicly traded solar company. And one of the sponsors of this event that may or may not be on your bag asked me a very simple question. Michael, how did you sell this at full price? How did you get $30 a seat with this publicly traded company? I said, you might want to write this down. I'm going to give you gold. I said, I asked for it. And I said, okay, really? How did you do it? I said, well, it's funny because I went and I sat down with a customer. I asked them, what are your business problems? Their problem was that they had 400 people knife fighting, I love that term, by the way, for conference bridges. Well, Big Orange happens to have a conference bridge with every seat. So now they have 400 conference bridges. No, that's not knife fight anymore. Like, really? We can actually solve our conference problem and we're somewhere all going to pay for? Yeah. And oh, by the way, we can all tie it back into your CRM, all that money you spent on Salesforce. So when Mrs. Jones calls in to find out why her solar bill went up 3 cents that month, you've already got her thing, her record popped up right there on your screen. They never looked at anybody else's pricing. Because this silly salesman telecom broker guy actually asked a few questions. Worked hand in hand with the MSP that brought him in. Tried to understand what their business goals were, just like Darren said. So that's how you get those types of deals. That's how you get benefit from these types of things. But you have to ask uncomfortable questions. You've got to be willing to put yourself out there. And again, you've got to be willing to sit down with a Darren and say, hey, I'm going to say this. Is this okay? And plan it out beforehand.
Yeah, great feedback, guys. All right, Darren, so we've been talking about opportunities, and Infinite won the MSP 501 Vanguard Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It recognized, yes. It recognized you for thought leadership around digital transformation. And actually, it looks like you've even created a new acronym. Fantastic, we have another acronym to know.
Did you trademark it?
DXP, which stands for Digital Transformation Provider. Can you tell us what the number one driver was for making your transition and how long it took?
It's kind of simple where, we were talking with our clients and about their challenges and problems. And, what was really apparent when you look at your overall growth, right? So we had, great accelerated growth in our business and good profitability. And we had a critical need to scale, right? And it's easy to say, throw headcount out of the issue, but we know that the headcount's the most expensive part of our COGS, right? And so we had to look at, what friction do we have? What waste do we have and how we execute and how we operate? And, what are the outcomes we're trying to attain, trying to achieve? What is the experience that we want to represent and present to our clients? Digital transformation is transforming the client experience, right? It's changing our expectations of what we should get, what we deserve. And, we see a lot of examples, obviously. I'm not going to rehash those out there in the market. But when you make things easier, faster, cheaper, and really more effective, you're creating value. So what we had to do is really look inward, look in the mirror and really be honest with ourselves. Are we operating at high octane? How much friction and waste do we have? What is the client experience that we're creating that people have, and from a rating 5 stars, Yelp, or what have you? How would they rate us right now? And so we had to look inward and look at our workflow, our processes, what we do and what we did for our clients to ensure we were high octane. So a lot of the transformational kind of focus was inward. You cannot advocate digital transformation unless you've gone through it. There's a great song from Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, right? We had to look in the mirror and make that change of ourselves before we could advocate change for others and headed down that path. And what that meant is we needed to become data-driven. If you don't have the metrics, the focus, the metrics to guardrail, the metrics, the North Star you want to go to, where are you headed? And so we had to look inward and we had to be honest with ourselves. We had to focus on the pieces, the friction, the lines of business, the revenue centers. We had to promote, we had to groom, we had to educate, we had to train, and then we had to work with our clients to ensure complete transparency in what we do, just like a restaurant grade, right? So a restaurant grade in New York City has A, B, C. You don't want to go beyond that. B's actually, there's things running around in there, in that kitchen, right? We want to be an A, always. We want them to know that our kitchen's clean. We want to put an open kitchen up so they can see everyone's working the way they should be. And how many service providers out there would allow their client to come into their office right now? How clean and messy is that place, right? It's one of those things I say, if you go to your service provider's office right now, just say, hey, I just want to stop by and say hello, they'd probably be horrified. I've seen them. I've seen many of them. How clean is your house? So, I mean, I think the big focus in, going down this digital transformation path is, and that's what we're becoming, I think, is the next level of managed service provider is a digital transformation provider that transform themselves, that have that right to go help and transform their client. Help their client determine what their North Star is. Help their client create an objective, data-driven, focused roadmap to achieve what their growth objectives are, what their workforce happiness is, what their workforce accountability is, and then ultimately what that client experience is. Because it's going to get tougher and tougher for every single vertical to differentiate, to show what value they're providing their client when goods are becoming more commoditized, right? Now we're just price shopping. So people want to buy from people. People want trust, people want accountability, and people want somebody that's going to help them execute their objectives. So thanks.
Well, you went through a major transformation, so there's no doubt that took a superpower. So what superpower best describes your journey?
Superpower is just uber awareness. I know my strengths and weaknesses as a CEO. I build a team to help augment that, right? And I know individual strengths and weaknesses within my team, and I ensure that they work with others to augment that. It's the superpower is awareness. And I think when you're also acutely aware of your client's business anthropologically, I mean, we do that all the time where we want to be in their shoes. I want to spend time with functional lines of business, the different revenue centers, the groups, and understand what they go through on a given daily basis, how they use or not use technology. And what's surprising is most, companies, they've been thrown technology and asked to adapt to it, right? And that means they're not getting the true value out of it. And so how do you ensure, based on what they're doing, everyone's got, think of quote to cash. Beautiful example of almost every company on the planet, right? How many steps, how many processes, how many people, how much time, what is the client exposure to that whole workflow, and how do you eliminate the waste, the friction, and how do you improve upon that? Well, it can be done technologically, right? So there's different points within those handoffs within different groups and different departments and different systems. It comes down to data, systems, and processes. That's what we're in the business of, data, systems, and processes. So how do we make that more effective? Because efficiency, you can only wring out so much, right? Effectiveness means that you're operating, again, back at that high octane level. So right. Superpower, it's awareness. It's that wake up in the morning, being honest with yourself. When you have a client at risk. You do. Whether you address it or not, it's up to you. But we have great intuition that we just need to listen to more.
Great, thank you. Well, Philip, Toller Systems also saw an opportunity and you transformed your MSP business, and you were recently recognized for that transformation as a MSP 501 Newcomer Award. So why the transformation and why now?
Well, my business partner, when I joined the organization in 2012, small break-fix organization, it was really only two of them, actually. And he really had to make the decision, am I going to grow this to something sustainable, or am I just going to do something different? So he did something that a lot of owners don't do easily. He sort of let me come into the organization and kind of turn it up on top of its head and restructured a lot of things in a short amount of time. I think a lot of what Darren was talking about is that we really had to make the decision, were we just going to be the people that sold some hours, or were we really going to be that person that provided the complete solution for the customer? I think everybody wants that. Every customer you interact with, whether they know it or not, they really want that one solution. And so we had to, in ourselves, change and adapt to become that for them. We did a lot of high-end network consulting and security elements, and so we had a lot of the enterprise experience. And so we took those best practices, boiled them down, made them applicable to a smaller size business, and then structured that all into a managed service model. And I think our clients really enjoy that experience with us. We intentionally talk a lot about confidentiality about the things inside of their business, even who our customers are, because we really want them to, even though we may serve competitors in a small region, we may serve all of their competitors, may all use us as well. We like to give them that confidence that we're there to serve their business only. We're there to help them grow. The other thing that I think we did, which really helped not only in our business but also in the groups that we serve, is we actually look at the business development life cycle, the maturity level of that business. So if you've ever read Les McKeown's book, Predictable Success, it kind of assesses where a business is within a bell curve. And so we're intentional and upfront, and we say, hey, if you're wanting to grow, or if you're wanting to get out of whitewater into what he calls predictable success, this is a really good fit. Our model is a good fit for you. But if you're at the very beginning stages where you're bootstrapping and you're trying to figure out who you are as a business, or maybe you're towards the very end of that, this may not be the best fit for you. So that's really nice, because in the beginning it sets clear expectations. Mm-hmm. It sets, okay, why are we here to accomplish this together? And all of those decisions, exactly as what we've been talking about, we tie all that to business outcomes, and we tie it all to, okay, this is going to solve this root problem that's stopping you from being able to grow. And so that was really a lot of our journey, continuing to do that better, and just also improve our team as well.
That's great. Well, so Darren said his superpower was Uber awareness. Mm-hmm. What would you say, what superpower best describes your journey?
Sure. So my background is in process improvement and in standardization, and that's a nice complement to my partner's background, which is in telecom, and very in-depth technical experiences. And so it's a nice blend when we would sit down with a customer, although he may not know what AR is and how the general ledger works, and I may not understand all of the really in-depth technical experience he has, we're able to really come to that client with a really nice solution. And in some cases, we don't have to bring in the Cadillac or that industry standard solution that may have a high price point. We can come in with a very applicable and relevant solution for them that does everything they need, but maybe at a lower price point for them. And I think our customers have really enjoyed that.
Great. Okay, Michael, you're up.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I think I have two superpowers. One, I
love it.
I know Joan Rivers. I heard Joan Rivers.
Oh, yeah.
She made a living, and she was famous saying, I made a living by saying what everybody else is thinking. Okay? I ask a lot of questions because I want to know. And also being a technology chameleon. In this business, I mean, the iPhone didn't exist 11 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. How many of us have one of these in our hand right now? Oh, look at you, you're texting. I'm teasing.
Hey, Michael was texting too. Just don't worry.
So, everybody ever heard that saying from Henry Ford, if I asked my customers what they wanted, what would they say? Faster horse, right? That's actually not what he said. He said they want less horse poop. Okay? So one of my largest customers owns a chain of chicken restaurants, okay? They sell Mediterranean chicken, lots of garlic. And when I asked him, what's your biggest problem? My phone rings too much. So I went to all of his restaurants, spent a day in the life at his restaurants. And oh, by the way, I charge you for my time. Turned out they get 60,000 calls a year over 9 restaurants. And the questions are 2 questions. Are you open and where are you at? Okay, and the reason why is this chain of restaurants is open 364 days a year. They're closed for Armenian Remembrance Day. They're open Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, 10 to midnight every day. Get your fuffle on every day, okay? And the problem is 40% of their business, this is a key ingredient, is takeout. When do you call to get food for lunch? At lunchtime. What kind of experience do you have when you're at lunch and people are like, oh, can you hang on one second? I got to take the call. And you can't hear anything. Well, there's an actual cost to that. He does about $20,000 a day in chicken at each store. So we put call center in. All those calls go to a call center where it's quiet. I can take your order, take your credit card. I can confirm your order. I can hear what you said. I can send the order out to the correct store so it's delivered faster to you. And you don't care, you just want your chicken, right? But that took asking some questions. And so the superpower I have is I'm not afraid to ask a stupid question. You've got to be able to dig in. I mean, how many of you guys have gotten a sale because you're like, hey, well, what about this? And they're like, huh. Or have you ever gotten a sale because you said, you know, I don't really feel like this is a good fit for us. You know, the takeaway clothes, right? And you're like, hey, no, this really isn't fit for us, right? And they go, well, but I want to do business with you. No, we're not a good fit. I've had sales where I'm like, okay, great. Our engagement fees can be $25,000. They're like, okay. I'm like, oh, should have been $100,000, right? Okay. Here's the point. Ask questions. Think of like the average 3-year-old. They'll sit and go, why? You can't do it like that. You know, it's like a parrot. Okay. But if you're willing to ask some uncomfortable questions, people appreciate that authenticity. And that's a superpower today, right? Everything's amazing today, but nobody's happy, right? So if you're willing to be real with people, when we go, hey, you know what, this is gonna hurt, but here's the outcome, people give you business. And they'll pay more for that. And here's the most important thing. If you're not charging good money for your engagements, you're taking a whole layer of crap you don't need to deal with. Because when people pay, they pay attention. So when you're talking to your lawyer at $500 an hour, you listen to everything they say, right? raise your prices. It'll be amazing the kind of quality you get back.
Words well spoken. I mean, that great superpowers, great journeys and experience.
If I could add a tool,
yeah, please.
You know, just to add on to what he was saying, you know, a great tool that I like using along with the questioning piece is, you know, help me understand, right? Let's break that down. And what that allows you to do is break down the workflow, break down the attributes of what it takes to do something, and then you get to quantify it. Then you're able to calculate and be able to go, okay, well, your cost of this piece is wasting you X in opportunity, it's wasting you Y in expense. It's all this friction that you're able to quantify and metric and be able to say, this is why you need to invest down this path, because we're going to save you this much time, the client experience is going to be better, your employees are going to be happier because they're not having to have that awkward moment of disrupting and sorry, I got to take this. You know, having them break it down, workflow it, get up on the dry erase board, sketch that thing out, and go through the occurrences, and then go through the average rates, and then go through the client average dollar transaction value, and then go through, see what I mean? So you just kind of go through that, break it down, and get the ROI, and that'll help.
I'll tell you, by the way, halfway through this, they'll sign. No, seriously, because they're not stupid.
People don't do that. I mean, they don't do it. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, like, people like us don't go to the client and really go and do a proper discovery.
I had a customer in the middle of our meeting look at me and go, we're going with you, because you're the only person that came to our office, sat down and dug into our business, asked us intelligent questions. Everybody else just sent over a price.
Yeah. This is like
this is gold, by the way.
This is obvious, right? I mean, there's
How much are we
nothing
charging for this panel?
they're saying, but but the practice of obvious is different, right? At the end of the day, these guys got some great stuff. So Philip, this whole concept of cooperation, right? Collaboration between business competitors in the hopes of a mutually beneficial results. Can this really work? And if so, do you have a success story?
I do have a couple, actually. I think one is groups just like this, peer groups. We all have successes in our own businesses. A lot of us are in different geographical markets. Being able to build those relationships is really beneficial. A couple of tangible examples as well. We have a wide geographic range where we don't have offices necessarily or technicians that live in those areas. And so in one region specifically, we've partnered with another managed service provider to install security cameras for one project. We needed a turn up at one circuit that was going to be a 4-hour drive in one direction from our location. And so even though in some ways he's a competitor, right, because we offer similar services, I'm in his market, I'm the outsider in his market, we're able to create some real synergy there because he's able to create some revenue there, and he's also able to have some experiences with us to see what we're doing. We also have another relationship with a managed service provider based out of Chicago, and one of their clients has a location in our market. And it didn't make sense to put someone on a plane every time they needed to make changes. And so we've come up with an on-site type arrangement where we'll let the noise pass, I guess.
Wow, is there an airplane going behind us here?
Oh, wait, I live in LA. I thought we had an earthquake. I didn't think Philly had those.
But we basically came up with an arrangement where we could go on site, we could be their hands in their ears for them. We gain knowledge of how they're doing their networks and have synergy there. They also get to provide a better experience for their customer. And so I think it really can work, but just clear expectations, clear boundaries. In that case specifically, one of the point of contacts at that location said that, hey, man, why don't you guys just come in and do all of our IT? These guys aren't good at all that are up here in Chicago. And we said, hold on. No, they do take care of you. That's not our role here. And really kind of reiterated the value that they were getting, where in some ways someone might come in and say, oh yeah, that's great, let's go have a conversation. We had the boundary there to say, no, this is why you have this relationship.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, Michael, with 25% of customers' IT budget being spent on software, do you think agents are missing out by not teaming up with software companies?
Absolutely. If you're not teamed up with some sort of software company, not only are you missing out on revenue, you're missing out on the now, not even the future. If you're not doing CRM integrations, if you're not doing business texting, if you're not having those conversations, for example, and just full disclosure, I have shares in this company. I use a company called Produce Score. And actually for companies that use G Suite, as a CEO, I can see all of my people on one screen to see who's actually what they're doing with graphical interfaces. Say, hey, John's doing it great, Susie's doing it great, what's Jim doing? And I actually use this because I found an employee that wasn't working. I actually put it in my own company. And I had to let them go because I actually looked at their screen and realized they sent 3 emails the month of April. What'd you do the entire month? Okay? Here's the point. This is allowing me to have different conversations with my customers that don't involve PRI, that don't involve a SIP or a hosted phone. But it gets me a lot deeper, a lot stickier into the customer. And now we're able to bring in G Suite resellers in our Irvine area, and they're feeding us leads, the Vonage, VoIP leads, Ring Central, everything else. And so it becomes it just becomes a farming tool. So if you're not teaming or learning about software, you should be. Because just remember this, I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, if Amazon's in your business, sell now. If Amazon's in your business sucks.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And now I know why they picked you, Michael, to be on this panel.
That's why I told you I need supervision too.
Yeah, that's why he's right here. I have a little shocker over here. Okay, I'm gonna ask one more question to the panelists, and then we're gonna do a pop quiz to our panelists. They have no idea this is coming.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I had to pay attention?
Yeah. Darren, how do you prepare and incentivize a sales team to sell new services?
Say cattle prod.
No, really having the right compensation plan in place that really kind of focuses on the revenue centers of your product lines. You got to start with a budget, right? A realistic budget, a realistic forecast, and attainable metrics. Realistic and attainable metrics, and then align a really rich compensation plan accordingly. And we do that with our direct sales force, and we also do with our partners. We give our partners 15% of net profit on a recurring business opportunity they bring to us, on the whole enchilada, everything. And so having something that, creates a rich, income opportunity, really rich, because their success and their attainment of quota, but then over-attainment of blowing out of that quota is what hopefully motivates the salespeople. You got to have the ones that are money-minded, the ones who want success, and then create a culture of winning that they're driving. They are that tip of the spear, that driving force of what the winning culture is. They are that face to the client. And the same thing goes with our partner ecosystem. They're the ones who are making that first touch that decide to bring us in, but they know that part of winning helps with their income. So we have a larger payout for recurring business. The core managed services, they get a larger one-time payment up front for the whole value of that monthly recurring, and then they get annuity for other commodity services. So commodity services, there's usually you want to make sure you got minimum margin thresholds, minimum contract terms, different attributes, because you want to influence the proper behavior. You want to influence the proper deals. You want to influence profitability, and you want to influence the right service portfolio for each client, and then having the right metrics there that drive that. They need guardrails to drive them that direction.
That's great. Thank you so much. All right, pop quiz time for our panelists. Again, they don't know this is coming. Want a little surprise. Don't worry, guys. It's not. You're gonna do great. Okay, so in 2019, Forrester projects that the global tech market for business and government purchases of technology goods, software, and services will grow by what percent? And I'll give you some options. A, 12 to 15%, B, 3 to 4%, or C, 8 to 10%. Michael?
I'll go 12, 15%.
Okay. Darren?
8 to 10%.
Okay. Philip?
I think A, yeah, 12 to 15 was A.
Okay. Well, that was a challenging question and a little bit of a trick question, only because it's actually B, 3 to 4%. They're forecasting actually a 4.7% growth, and keep in mind this is worldwide.
And that would only be if we don't help them properly.
Well,
Right? If we
guess
help them
what?
properly, it should be bigger than that.
Yeah, and
We're looking at
so,
30, 40% if we're there,
that's right. So actually, this is really good news for all of us in the room. Customers are buying technology, goods, software, and services. The question is, what's your company gonna do to capture some of that market share? And what ecosystem partners are you going to work with to help you do that? So with that, I'm gonna open it up for questions. Do you have any questions for our panelists? Yes?
It depends on the actual situation, but to be clear, when we charge the engagement, it depends on what they're actually trying to accomplish. But typically, I try not to make multiple quotes because a confused mind never buys.
Yes?
I have a question for Darren. Have you copyrighted the term digital transformation provider?
Yeah, we were going through that process, yeah.
DXP is the acronym.
Yeah,
You owe me $1 now because you said it.
exactly. And then my face and hair next, so.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, panelists. 11:20, we have our channel chief roundtable in here, so that's coming up in about 8 minutes. So stick around.